Sanjoy Nath'S Phenomenology analysis on risk, surety, viability, ableness, and possibleness. Phenomenology reasoning system works with the cuedness of the concept construction, and phenomenology analyze the cuedness and whenness of the concept consumption. And these are not only on the individual level, these analyses are done on the entire culture, entire demography. These analyses are done on the region wise, time wise, and cuedness wise, that is the sequentialness of the concepts construction within a region, or the concept transportation from one location to another location in the demography, concepts consumption in one location of the region of the world to another region of the world. Obviously, the big example here is the terms like selfie, or the terms like mobile phone, or the terms like the ATM machines were not well aware among the every peoples around the world at the same time. The concepts originated at some location, the concepts transported to some other location, then the concepts popularized to some other location, and in this way the order of concept constructions are not always same in every location of the world every time, and the concepts consumptions are not on the same rate everywhere at the same time. This concept construction and concepts propagations take time. Sometimes the maturity of the people are not always in a certain order. Sometimes people are not matured about the way they should handle religion still now, but they know how to handle mobile phones. People don't have the concepts of many primitive concepts, but still they have the ideas of modern concepts. This kind of shuffling can also occur. So concept construction in the whole world, in the whole humankind, can have a certain order of concept constructions, and the concept consumptions can occur in a very different rate, in a very different locations, in different times, due to several reasons, due to different kind of beliefs, different kind of faiths, and for that reason the concept propagation takes long time. The simple example here we can say about the concept of zero, the concept of Indo-Arabic decimal number systems. This originated in India in 600 AD to 800 AD, and it was propagated through businessmen of Arab, then to Europe, and in Europe it penetrated near around 1100 AD. Some people got it interesting and some people did not. There were several skepticism, and it took 400 to 500 years more in Europe to consume the concept of zero and binary and decimal systems. The concept of binary system was also there from ancient times, but it was getting popular after the computers and the Boolean algebra came after 1850. So the order and the cuedness in which the concepts are constructed in the whole world as a unit, we consider the whole world as a unit when we understand the analysis of Qhenomenology, where we are bothered with the first inception of any concept in any part of the world, whatever the part of the world, wherever the part of the world is. And sometimes some concepts are originated with different names, and due to that the polysemy occur, different names at the different locations of the world. Obviously this happens only after some other concepts are ready there. If some concepts are not ready, then the next successor concepts cannot construct in the mankind. This kind of analysis is the analysis of Qhenomenology reasoning system. This reasoning system is a special kind of reasoning system which can work with the market risks also, and these kind of reasoning systems are helpful for predicting the market, to understand the behavior of consumers, the understanding of the risk-taking behaviors, risk-averting behaviors of the peoples, because some of the concepts are not already constructed or propagated among the certain groups of the peoples. For that reason, people of certain region feel many concepts as risky concepts, but some other part of the world people don't think that certain concepts are risky, because how many number of concepts are already penetrated into the society, and how many of the concepts are already available to the region of the peoples, it's the buzzword among the peoples, that determines the nature of consumers behavior. This way of analyzing economics was not too much common before. In Sanjoy Nath'S Qhenomenology reasoning system and Whenomenology reasoning system, we are discussing about these kind of things. If we look at the Google Ngram for the words like the risk, sure, viable, able, and possible, these kind of words, then we will understand that the word viable, say the word viable, is occurring after 1720s, and that was discussed up to 1820 too much. Then it was not that much discussed up to 1920 to 1945. After Second World War, from the 1948 onwards, the concept of viability increased drastically, and it was running sufficiently drastically when we were getting into the computers. And after the computers came, and after the bubble burst, for the dot-com bubble burst, up to that point of time, the concept of viability was getting its peaks. And there is another drastic fall of the concept of the viability at the time of the 1960 to 1970, and is at this time three things were occurring. We should know that at that time the banking sectors were moving away from the gold reserves and other things completely. The faith dependent and belief dependent markets of the money markets were coming up, and share markets were getting turmoiled at this time, and the concept of the viability discussions were reduced for a sharp fall at that time. And the computers were also coming, so the market was not sure about several things at that time, and several kind of small wars were also going on at that time. So the concept of the viability was certainly dropped, and mainly the concept of viability and the well discussion about the viability in the Whenomenology chart, like these kind of the Google Ngram, we see that the concept penetration was there, but the concept discussion was reduced up to 2000 to 2008. And after 2008, the concepts were increasing because the UPI transaction kind of things were increasing, and several market viability was also increasing. Now we will compare something about this viability with the risk, and then we will move towards the other kind of comparisons. The term risk is much more discussed than the concept of the viability, and we should notice here very clearly that if the term viable is discussed a 1% more, then the term risk is discussed at least 20 times more. From these kind of charts, we can see that the word viability, the concept of the viability, controls the magnified effect of the concept of risk. The more number of places and more number of cases where the concept of viability is under question and more discussed, we see there are 20 times more discussion regarding the risks also. So viability concept discussion has a direct impact on the concepts of the risk, and there is a small lag effects, and that lag effect is just 2 to 3 years among the concept discussions in the society regarding the viability and the risk. Now we will compare these whole things with the able. If we compare this with the word able, then we see that ability and risk are almost ensured until the computers were there, and during two times near around when the abstraction things occur, directly visible things are not there, something invisible things are starting doing some work, like at the time of 1740 to 1780, people was getting more confused because several syntactic things started working, which were not among the awareness of the people at that time. We can see that several formalizations were started working during 1740 to 1780. People were moving towards the more syntactic structures and the structures which were not directly visible but looked reasonable, and those things are very interesting thing which can turmoil the markets and which can make a very dicey effect on the people's mind. That is something you cannot see directly, but you find that the invisible thing is also working. For example, if I say x square plus y square equal to r square, x is a number, y is another number, and you are squaring x and squaring y, and you are getting some square of other number, then drastically you can say that if x is the length of another one line segment, and y is the length of another line segment, and if r is the length of another line segment, then these three line segments will form a triangle, and surely a 90 degrees is present there. Then people will get confused that they cannot see a triangle like this, but with the relationship they can conclude ensurely, they are sure that this is possible. And when this kind of abstract things comes to the mankind gets shattered, and whenever this kind of formula comes, we see the discussion regarding the ability and risk gets a deviation, which means a large group of people are almost sure that this kind of abstraction will work, and a large segment discuss that this is going to become a risk. So phenomenology reasoning system, phenomenology reasoning system, these kind of reasoning systems are the systems which can take the whole culture at a time, which can take the whole mankind at a time, and can discuss the concept construction sequences and concept consumption sequences. And these two things are like the two real number lines. And here we can see that the term sure and the term risk has a different kind of discussion sequences. From these kind of charts, we are not always sure that people were discussing about the same object while they are talking about the risk, or while they are talking about the word sure. But we can see that in the discussion of these words like sure and the discussion of the words like risk increase or decrease with a certain kind of relationship with each other, and the word like and the concepts like the ability, the able, and the concepts like the surety are almost with the same kind of flow. If we want to see the behaviors of the able and sure, then we see that there is very less points of the time in the history where the ability and the surety has the differences, and there is a lead lag relationship. And for maximum of the time along the timeline of our history, we can see that the concept of the ability and the concept of surety are moving hand to hand. Now we will see to compare some more number of terms together, where we can see that the risk, the surety, the viability, the ability, and the possibility, all of these things are related, where the viability concept is a very small movement and which can get the magnified effects on the concepts of possible, the concepts of able, the concepts of risk, the concepts of surety. Now we will try to see the Qhenomenology dictionary kind of thing that Sanjoy Nath has prepared and already shared in GitHub with the open source kind of database, where you will get this kind of database and where you will see that the concept of viable, where the tree-like structures of the dependency of the concepts, and in this kind of database we can see the viable, the workroom, and the homework are very much related as per the ranking of their dependency weight. Dependency weight is a very interesting concept. That means for every concept stands upon some other concepts, and these other concepts are like the roots of a tree. Those roots are branched bottom downward, where more fundamental concepts are already there as the branched roots, and on those number of roots a certain concept is standing. In this PQS QED kind of database, we can see that viable is the concept which is directly defined with 9 number of direct concepts, and these 9 number of direct concepts are also dependent on some other concepts, and in this way the branch is going down, and ultimately until the circular reference starts, the total number of branching references is 1630 for the word for the concept viable, and the same 1630 numbers of sub branches, that is the roots and the trees, like the branched roots, the 1630 total number of roots are common for the other kind of concepts like the workroom, like the uncase, like the hack work, like the workshop, like the workflow, like the willful, like the cushy, like the prep, like the botchy, like the workable, the words like the unskillful, like the feasible. These kind of words or these kinds of concepts, executable, stripped down, brickwork, these kind of concepts are all having 1630 number of branched roots, branching the root branching below the construction of such concepts. And also, if we try to go deep inside all these things, then we find that these concepts are with the total frequency of the presence of these branch roots, and with the totality of the frequencies of these concepts in the whole of the dictionaries, the in WordNet and Oxford Cambridge dictionaries, and then we can see that there are 42905 number of sub branches, and for the viable we can see that there are the 42435 number of small roots, and the sub roots are present there, and these roots and sub roots and these branched roots are all the sub concepts, and on which the certain concept, like the concept of the viability, is standing upon. And in this way the whole dependency chains are prepared, which are like the C++ classes, the compilation order. There is the class compilation orders, and those are ranked in this way, and from this ranking, from these weightages, we can get the ranking of these concepts in our mankind as a totality. And in the same way, if we look at the frequency distribution in the whole dictionary for the words like the viable, then we see that the nearest highest frequenciness of these concepts in the whole discussion of the dictionary, that is the concept interdependency chains, the frequencies found in the concept interdependency chains, there we can see that for the viable and for the bloodless, for the ubiquitous, for the biochemistry, for the candor, for the flaxen, for the fated, all these kind of things are near about each other, and from that we can understand that okay, these terms are almost carrying the same kind of weightages in the concept construction sequences. Now we should talk about a little bit deeper here, that is, if we look at the viable, what viability means. Viable means the capable of life or normal growth and development, capable of being done with means at hands and circumstances as they are. Now, when we see the synonyms of this viability or the viable, then we see that it is executable, it is discussed related to the concepts of executable, feasible, practicable, workable, and these are almost similar to the alive, live, and possible. So in the Qhenomenology reasoning system and the Whenomenology reasoning system, we try to find how many branches of the concepts and sub branches of the concepts are there below this concept is constructible. Mankind cannot construct every concept from the blues. They construct one concept after another concept, and several concepts stand together to prepare a concept. So whenever we will discuss about any concept, that at that moment that concept is standing at the tip of a pyramid, where the whole bottom layers of the pyramids are the other concepts. We try to find what are the other concepts on which this current concept is standing upon. That kind of analysis helps us to make risk-free prediction for the future concepts or future kind of products, or while doing the product developments also, while finding the market positioning also. This kind of analysis is another alternative toolkits for the economic analysis and also for the market research systems. Now here, if we look at what viability means, and in that cases we find some interesting concepts here. The viability is the selection of the individual organisms and who can survive until they are able to reproduce, and the ability of a fetus to survive outside the uterus, the chances of a population of the planet, of the plants or animals, to avoid the problems of inbreeding, a lower bound on the populations of a species such that it can survive in the wild, a species-specific methods of the species-specific methods, and here we are discussing about the concept-specific methods of the risk assessments, the frequently used in the conservation of the biology and viable cells. In the business, the viability study is a study of the profitability of a business concepts and which is to be converted into a business. The minimum viable product in the product development, a strategy used for fast and quantitative market testing of a products or the product features. Here, up to this discussion, we can now tell one more talk here, is that when we are showing you some of the words combined in the Google Ngram, sometimes you will feel that which of these words to compare, and to find those kind of words, these kind of dictionaries are necessary, where we are not arranging the words in the alphabetical order. Qhenomenology dictionary prepares the dictionary with the condition that every words are one-to-one mapped with a concept, and every concept is like a real number, such that every concept are placed as a point on the number line, and every concept has some immediate precursor, and every concept has some immediate successor, and in this way the concepts are linearly constructed one after another. But one more thing here is that the value of the concept is weighted with the size of the pyramid on which it is standing. It's a very interesting concept that in the decimal systems we find the valuation of a number from the right side calculations, that is the units place, the tens place, hundreds place. In this way we add all these things like a polynomial with the 10 base, and we can take any other kind of bases. And in the theory of number, there are multiple kind of number representations like the mixed radix cases, also the binary systems, also hexadecimal systems. Also the valuation of the phenomenological valuation of any concept is the size of the pyramid on which the concept is standing upon. That is, at every concept, the concepts are always standing on a pyramid steep, and there is a large pyramid, small pyramid or large pyramid standing below that concept. The bigger the pyramid is, the concept is towards the right side of the number line. If the pyramid size is smaller, then the concept is placed at the left side of the number line. The concept line is like a number line where the evaluation of the concept is determined from the number of branches, that is the total number of pyramid sizes. If we consider these kind of numbers as the volume of the pyramids, and the tip of the pyramid is the concept itself. So the concept in the PQS QED system is the tip of a pyramid, where the pyramid size is the value of that concept, and we can consider this pyramid as the branched root system which is going downward, and these downward branched roots are actually the other concepts on which this current concept is standing upon. The valuation on the number line, the valuation of this concept on the concept line, which is like the number line, is calculated as per the total number of branches and sub branches below this concept. And all these branches and sub branches are also the concepts, the sub concepts, and the sub concepts and sub concepts, and on which recursively the trees like pyramids are constructed. And every concept, whatever concept on which we are talking about, all these concepts are at a point of time are the tip of the pyramid, and the pyramid size, the volume of this pyramid size is calculated like these, which is the measure that how many total branch concepts and the sub-branched concepts and sub-branch concepts are recursively below this current concept. This is the way the phenomenology reasoning system and the phenomenology reasoning system works. And if we do the market analysis and product analysis using this kind of analysis system, then we can measure our markets and measure our demography with much more clarity. And this is another kind of statistical process, and this is another kind of reasoning system which is not like the neural network, but this is like the concept network, and which is more reliable because this system is calculating the whole history at a time. And with this system we can understand the cognitive structure of human as a whole culture, human as a whole species, and the whole world becomes a single entity where the concept construction order, the concept construction pyramid systems are taken together, and the concept consumption sequences are also taken together to understand that what kind of their minimum number of concepts and what are the more fundamental basis concepts are at least necessary for any region of the mankind to accept the next concept. So the successor concept or the marketability of any concept or the acceptability for any concept or the product in any certain region depends upon how many concepts are already pushed into that society. Suppose a society is not comfortably aware with mobile phones. If a society is not comfortably aware with the smartphone, then you cannot expect that those society will accept the UPI transactions. Some of the concepts and the reliability on certain concepts are necessary in certain regions, and if you think that you will make marketing on any certain part of the world for certain product or for certain concept, you cannot do that until some other concepts are already matured and already consumed in that society. So these kind of understandings are very necessary. Suppose a society is not aware about the private hospitals, if a society is not aware about the conditions of the bills and the medicines costs and how much risky these kind of things are, if the peoples in that society are not aware about the pains and painfulness of not having money while doing the treatments, if these concepts are not ready there, then you cannot sell the health insurance concept in that society. This is an example with which we can tell that how the phenomenology reasoning system and phenomenology reasoning system can help us in the market researches and market predictions and market penetrability for any products or services. This determines the size of the pyramids standing below a concept and what are the bare minimum basis concepts minimum necessary to define a certain concept, and we have to take care on all the branches and sub branches, and we have to invest money to do the marketing of the concepts and of the sub concepts or the sub concepts to a certain society before we even try to do the marketing for a certain concept in a society. If we don't prepare for all these sub branches of the concepts, then obviously the market will become risky. And until the phenomenology reasoning system and the phenomenology reasoning systems are used to do this kind of analysis for the market, we will always not get the correct results with our current states of the economic analysis or with our current states of the forecasting. That is the interesting point with which we are talking here about the phenomenology reasoning system and the phenomenology reasoning systems. This is the cuteness of the concept construction. I repeat, the cuteness of concept constructions is like the number line, where the evaluation of the concepts is done through the size of the pyramid on the tip of which pyramid the current concept is standing upon. This is a very concrete definition of the valuation of any concept, and for any dictionary we can do this kind of static analysis one time in 3 years or 4 years. And with this, since vocabulary is continuously growing and the concepts are continuously coming, so 3 to 4 years, for every 3 to 4 years one time we can prepare a database on this kind of ranking, and with that we can find the pyramid size for every concept, and with that we can do the analytical model for the concept penetration understanding, for market research understanding, for any kind of concepts. And we can understand the nature of the demography. We will understand what kind of data we have to collect from a society. We can design the certain kind of questionnaires for the people in the society, that are they aware about certain concepts in our society. If the people in a society are not aware about certain concepts, then they will not they will not purchase the advanced concepts which are standing upon the pyramid of these current concepts which are in the awareness scenario in the certain domain. So for the marketing research, for the product research or the product development scenarios and the service development scenarios, we have to do the phenomenological reasoning systems and phenomenological reasoning systems every time, and otherwise the current consumer behavior understanding systems will not give us the clear pictures every time. Thank you.